Hello and welcome back to the Scoutcast. It's time to look ahead to game week 35 plus. My name is Joe.
My name's Andy.
Lateriser 12.
Andy, what's in the show today?
We're going to spend about an hour talking about Ben Foster. I'm at least going to make you admit he was a bad pick, but otherwise, the proper stuff. Some still have their chips remaining, bench boost, free hit, even some triple captains going around. So we're going to catch up on the best potential times to play them. Obviously, handy for the chipless as well to see what they're up against. Chelsea looking great going forward, really good against Crystal Palace again in game week 34. So should we still be looking at bringing them in because their fixtures are not the best, I think most people would agree on, and is a double up a potential still as well. So Willian, Giroud and Pulisic looking good. Meanwhile, Jamie Vardy's taken on Whipping Boys Bournemouth this week. Could this be another chance for late risers or Prenil? High impact theory to help managers rise up the rankings. And then as always, clean sheets at the end, differential picks and transfers and captaincy plans.
Okay, so firstly, let's have a look to see how we're getting on so far in game week 34. There's some remaining games, so this has been recorded and live streamed on, what day is it now? Thursday, is it? And tonight we have Thursday the 9th of July. We've got Bournemouth, Spurs, Everton, Southampton, Villa, Manchester United. So still time for arrows to turn red or green, whichever way. So I'm going to go first. So here I am with 57 points. So whoop-de-doo so far. But I have Fernandes, but I'm not captaining him. He has an effective ownership over 100%. No matter what he gets, it's a rank 4 for me. So I sort of don't want him to do well, but what the hell, I want him to do well because I own him, even though it's going to be to a rank drop. So yeah, I've got Foster, the mighty Foster, in goal, Bolly, Alexander-Arnold and Aurier to play, so not so well in defence. Midfield, it's all rocking here. Pulisic, Fernandes to go, Salah, De Bruyne and Mahrez, all of them returned, and Salah in particular, 18 points, I believe his highest of the season. Up front, got Jimenez and Greenwood to go. Calvert-Lewin on the bench. I don't really mind so much the bench points I'm going to inevitably get from him, bearing in mind some of the bench points that have been going around recently. I know Andy will talk about them. So going all right so far. Green arrow, but I'm expecting it to turn less green, grey, and hopefully not red after Fernandes has got his inevitable massive haul. Late riser, tell us about your game week.
Oh, it was such a roller coaster yesterday. My move was Salah to De Bruyne, to Sterling over De Bruyne. I went with Sterling instead of De Bruyne, and that was the risk I wanted to take. I mentioned that
Wow.
I didn't want to play it safe because I was sitting at around the 400 rank mark, and I didn't particularly care if I, hit the 1K rank or the 5K rank. I really wanted the double-digit rank, which is why I went for it. And Sterling's look really sharp, so I went for that. Got extremely lucky. I did have some insurance in the form of Mahrez and Jesus starting as well. So that turned out well. De Bruyne could have had more assists on the day and I could have been slaughtered. But I also say that Mahrez and Jesus could have had a goal and assist more as well. So all in all, it turned out well. And that last minute when Sterling got that goal turned out just fine. It was such a relief. Outside of that, I had Pulisic, who's done really well. He got me 9 points. I got Jimenez, who's a little bit of a worry. I'm looking to sell him right now. In defense, I have Trent and Doherty. Liverpool are conceding a fair amount of chances right now, so I'm a little worried about that. I've got Martial, Fernandes, De Gea, and Aurier to go, so hoping it stays a green.
Yeah, that should do. 51 points, pretty good score, and it's bound to get even better with those Manchester United players. Well, famous last words this season, but I think you do well. They're 3-5-2 as well. Another with 3-5-2, and Nketiah on your bench. I like that. -2, and long may he stay there. So Andy, let's come to you now. You warned me that we might have to roll out the Granny's myth, which is in honour of the first Scoutcast host, Granville. He was miffed a lot, and your myth this week. So yeah, we got your team up 40 points, and you transferred out a Mo Salah. Tell us about your week.
I'm not even sure Salah is the worst of it, to be honest, and that is pretty bad considering he scored 18 points. I mean, I'm not saying this is bad luck. It is a lot of bad decisions, but everything has gone wrong since the restart. So I took out Salah for a hit. I thought I'd go for it, get Jesus in ahead of all these fixtures, and go for Antonio instead of Pulisic. So straight away, as soon as Pulisic scored in that first game, I was getting a bit worried. And then it was yesterday was just like a roller coaster that was only going downhill. Started off really well with Jesus. I was on Scoutcast match day. Kept hearing on Man City, and they scored again. Like, they scored 5 goals, and it still doesn't feel like my players scored enough points in that game. It sounded like Jesus could have had more points. Mahrez and De Bruyne could have had more points. And then Salah to get 18 points just topped it off. But where it gets even worse, and Foster's not even the worst of it, by the way, and he is awful. Egan has been on my bench the last 2 game weeks, and both times he has wiped out the defender that I've played instead. So last week I played Charlie Taylor. He got a clean sheet. He didn't get a clean sheet, because Egan wiped it out. And then this time I played Seiss instead, and Egan wiped it out again. And I put Charlie Taylor third bench with his 11 points. So even with Nketiah, I'd be happy for every Man United player to miss out tonight from an FPL point of view. Even with Nketiah, I'd still be massively up on the deal with Egan and Taylor on 26 points. So yeah, it's not been good for me since the restart. I took Ings out, Pope over Foster, took Salah out for a hit. My free hit team scored worse than my normal team that only had 3 double game week players. And I took the captaincy off of Fernandes to chase Martial's points, and that didn't work out either a couple of weeks ago. So awful, basically. So what I'd say is don't listen to me for this Scoutcast. Okay. Just mute me when I talk, and then listen to Joe and Lateriser instead.
But often I find in fantasy football in Premier League, you have that bad week, take it calm, don't do anything. The next week, hey presto, you never know. Egan, I can't believe Egan's going to score again. I think that would make him a bigger legend than Lundstrom even.
Absolutely.
But nevertheless, yeah, that's a tough week. I've got McCarthy on my bench as well, and so the way it's going, obviously we know McCarthy is going to end up with something there.
I'm hoping Andy's used up all his bad luck now.
Yeah, I think so. And the other thing is, I was talking a bit to Lateriser before we came on, just preparing for this. We're talking about the amount of midfielders that are available, and we're all going for this power 5, but all our power 5s are different. And to be honest, we could all have a power 15, really, because
I'd happily drop the strikers.
All 5 of my players did well. All 4 out of 5 did well this week. Next week, none of them could do well, and then others could. It's so hard to get them, to pin them down, but they're so capable of getting huge scores. Don't have Pulisic, maybe have Willian. Well, we'll talk about that a bit later. Before we talk about Chelsea, and before we talk about high impact decisions, of which Jamie Vardy will be mentioned, I just wanted to have a recap really about free chips, free hits, free chips, wild cards. There's a few left basically. So it's difficult to know when to play them because we're basically looking for single game weeks left. So there was a bit of research that Ragabolly did on Fantasy Football Scout ahead of game week 35. So more than half of those in the top 10k has still got their free hit chip to play. So the top engaged managers, there's going to be some free hits being reeled out. And that's a worry for people like me who don't have a free hit. So I've got to try and mitigate those free hits coming because they are going to be good. I think free hit is good in a single game week because you can just max out on teams that have great fixtures and they may be not players or teams you particularly want. Nevertheless, there's bench boosts as well. So looking at who's been, the chips that have been played, around 2,000 of those engaged managers, about a fifth of that top 10,000 have still got the bench boost to play, and about 1,500 or so still got their triple captain chip, and a few hundred have got their wild cards still left. Lucky people. So there's lots and lots of options. There's still chips floating around there. This is important for those who've still got their chips to play, but it's also important for those who haven't, because this is what you're up against, and so you've got to try and mitigate that. So we've got a couple of questions. FPL Doctor, with West Ham against Norwich, Leicester against Bournemouth, is game week 35 a perfect time to free hit? And then a question from me actually, because this relates to my team, and I think it's going to relate to others as well. It's around the bench boost. Now I've got lots of Southampton. They haven't had some good fixtures, but they're getting some good fixtures. Game week 36 when they face Brighton looks a great use of that bench boost, and indeed a free hit possibly as well. So just also asking you about when you think that whether the bench boost is good then, or maybe you should just think, instead of basing decisions entirely on trying, in my case, upgrading Fernandes with a Z on my bench to someone a bit better, just look at the high impact moves instead. So I'll come to you first, Lateriser. Firstly, tell me sort of what chips, if any, you've got left, but also when you think might be good times in the decisions around bench boost, free hit, triple captain, etc.
So we discussed this the last time I was on the Scoutcast with you guys. The bench boost team always is going to depend on your team. So look at the players that are sitting on your bench and look at when they have a reasonable fixture and play it. And my advice would be, get it out of the way sooner than later, because you don't know how many teams are starting to go on the beach at a later stage in the league, and you don't know how much rotation we're going to see. The FA Cup's coming in game week 37. So I personally think game week 35 or 36 is a good time to get out of the way. I personally have the free hit chip left, and there are 3 good weeks to play it. Again, I think it depends on the difference between your team for that game week as versus the optimal team for that game week. Now, there's a couple of weeks, and I don't think you're in too much trouble, Joe, if you don't have a free hit chip left right now, because there are standout attackers in the form of City attackers, United attackers, Chelsea attackers, and your Liverpool mid, who pretty much everybody owns. So I don't see if you'll see too much variance. I don't even know if the free hit chip will definitely outperform the non-free hit chip. But in terms of identifying weeks, I like 35 as an option for the free hit chip. We have West Ham playing Norwich. We have Liverpool playing Burnley. Now, whether you go for Mane, who looks likely to start against Burnley, or whether you chance the fact that Salah is going to start versus Burnley as well, that's your call. We have Vardy playing Bournemouth. So that's a good option. 36 is also a good play, because I think the FA Cup comes into play here, because all the semi-finalists play their 36th game before the FA Cup. Now, we know that United and Chelsea are going to pretty much roll out their full-strength team because they care about what's happening in the league right now. It's not the case with Pep and City. So I'd tread that Man City versus Bournemouth fixture that we see in game week 36 with caution, because I think Pep is going to go backwards now. The team that's going to play the Cup, I think we're going to see them play against Bournemouth, and I think most of the big guys are going to rest against Brighton, and most of the big guys are going to rest against Bournemouth. So that's something you need to look at. Outside of that, 38 is the obvious play. We might get some early team news. City are playing Norwich, so you choose and pick the 3 that you want to go for. You go for the Golden Boot guys. And United has a tough fixture in Leicester, and Chelsea has a tough fixture in Wolves, so you can go for some of the other fixtures. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I think with game week 38, it was just occurred to me, obviously, there tends to be more goals in the final game week of the season, and benches tend to be cheaper defenders. So this is not an ideal matchup for a bench boost. But for a free hit, that's great, because you don't really want your bench to play. You can get your cheap, and you can really maximise your front 11. As you said, you might get some early team news. And also, you can slightly second guess some of those moves, because you've got the FA Cup out of the way. But it's a very important decisions to make, because some of these bench boosts and free hits, if it works, I know Andy used his bench boost earlier on a single game week, you can get 20, 30 points. And that's, that could be the difference between a really great rank and a not such a great finish. But yeah, Andy, what about you? You got any just general thoughts? Because you're chipless at the moment. Do you have any general thoughts about when people should use these chips?
Yeah, I think the danger of having to use it, not having to use it, but using it in a single game week, is that people might overthink it so much they actually don't put in players who are good that they already own, because obviously the want with a free hit is to completely change your team. But let's say you target Leicester this week. Fair enough, Jamie Vardy, maybe a defender as well. But I don't really know who else I'd really want for Bournemouth. And then West Ham, same. Norwich don't concede a huge amount of goals. So I would expect West Ham to win that. Would I want 3 West Ham players? Not so sure. And then if we think about the teams that we already own players from, Man United have got Southampton. Southampton, yes, they didn't concede against Man City. They should have. Man City played Brighton away. Well, guess who Brighton have just conceded 3 goals to? Liverpool and Man United at home. So I think there's a danger of using it this week that you'll ignore really good players. I think I prefer game week 36 a little bit because we might get early team news for Chelsea. If that happens, then that is a triple up. I'd maybe think about, again, defensively, I don't think Chelsea are all that great, but it is Norwich. So, maybe going for an Azpilicueta, Reece James, whoever it might be, plus Pulisic and Willian, or Pulisic and Giroud, whoever it might be. That could be good. And then bench boost, I kind of agree. Like, I think there's only 4 weeks left. There's not much more to play for. Or there's not too many more opportunities to get points. I wouldn't be using a huge amount of my transfers to fix my bench for a bench boost. I would just roll whenever's best. If you've got, like you said, Joe, you've got 2 or 3 Southampton players. They play Brighton at home. Just go for it and hope for the best, I think. I wouldn't be using too many transfers to fix it, unless it's part of I would say, longer-term plan, but we haven't really got long-term now. Well, you know what I mean?
I do have a longer-term plan. We'll come to that a bit later. But it doesn't involve upgrading Fernandes with a Z. So I'm going to put that off for a little while. So I might end up using it in game week 37 or 38 even, which isn't ideal. But, for example, this week, Egan on your bench. How many benches is Egan on? He's on a lot of benches, put it that way. Because there's still a lot of faith in Wolves' attack around there. So I think it's pot luck in a single game week. It's what you're looking for is the holy grail, which is your cheap defender scoring and getting a clean sheet. And then that's done. And all you need is something else. And you would consider that a success. In a double game week, I would be looking at 16 points minimum. In a single game week, if I can get anything above 10, I'll be happy. Put it that way. Because I feel I've got something there. And I think others with a bench boost don't. So, basically it's not a high impact move. The bench
just one other quick thing about another reason why I like free hit in 36 as well as the Chelsea news is it's a bit like Lateriser said about game week 38 and Norwich. Yes, we can't 100% say which Man City players are going to play against Bournemouth, but we might get a good idea from how many minutes whoever gets in game week 35, and getting the right 3 Man City players for Bournemouth could be huge. So I definitely prefer, without looking at everyone's team individually, I think I prefer 36 to 35 myself.
Yeah, no, it's tough decisions there. So I mean, one of the things that's integral to this is Chelsea, because they've got Norwich coming up soon, and Pulisic and Willian, they cannot stop getting points. I've had Pulisic for 2 or 3 weeks, and I've just come to expect it now. Where's my 6 points? Where's my 8 points? Willian owners, where's my 10 points? They're thinking. And then throw Giroud into that. He can't stop scoring. Well, but anyway. So, Andy, we've had some questions about Chelsea at the moment. People want to talk about them.
Yeah, basically, like you said, is it still time to invest in Chelsea? They've been doing really well, much to my disgust. PKH, is it worth doubling up on Chelsea with Willian and Pulisic? The new Fraser-Wilson combo, potentially. And Ryan, has the Chelsea midfield boat sailed? So just a quick reminder, the fixtures. It's Sheffield United away this week in game week 35. Then it's Norwich at home, which we just talked about. As Late Risers mentioned, straight after that, it's Man United in the FA Cup. So there could be some rotation, but of course, they're still playing for top 4. So maybe not quite as bad as we first think. Then it's a Liverpool away and Wolves at home. So the fixtures aren't fantastic, but they got two or three players that are really in form. So what do you think, Late Riser? What's your thoughts around Chelsea? And especially bringing them in if you don't already own them.
I think go for them. I think their problem is not goal scoring. We saw that they scored 2 goals against Manchester City, and they could have had more. What I like about Chelsea, it's a very strong counter-attacking team. So, Sheffield and Norwich, they're good fixtures in my opinion. And then you have Liverpool and Wolves. Liverpool are not defensively very tight right now. They are conceding a few chances for fun. And Pulisic and Willian are your 2 outlets that are going to do well on the counter-attack. And Chelsea still can't afford to drop any points. So the motivation is right up there. So if they're in form and they cost 7 million-ish. So absolute value for money, I would still buy them if it suits your midfield setup. I see no problem.
Any interest in Giroud? Or do you think he's just too much of a rotation risk?
I actually called him out just before this game week. The problem with Giroud is you're going to see 60 to 65 minutes for him week on week. Chelsea played 5 or 6 games before this game week. Tammy started one of them. which was against West Ham, which Chelsea lost, and Tammy was terrible in that. So I think Lampard has a tendency to not drop the informed players, and he's managing Giroud's minutes. So he's going to play 60, 65 minutes. I think he's going to start at least 3 of the next 4 games in the league. So I like him. I'm looking at getting him in game week 36 as a differential, like we mentioned, in case I decide to free hit or as a 1 week punt as well.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I really like Giroud, and I think he's actually more important to Tammy the way they're playing at the moment because he brings Willian and Pulisic into play a lot more. So, there's assist potential there, and we've seen that he can still score. What about you, Joe? You already own Pulisic, right?
Yeah.
So are you thinking of bringing in another one?
Possibly. I think the boat has basically sailed on people who are Chelsea-less getting Pulisic and Willian, unless you've got a free hit. And I think free hitting for that Norwich game could be a great move there. I think for those like me, got Pulisic, those with Willian, I think doubling up is still viable. The fixtures there, Sheffield United, it could be tough, but the form that Pulisic and Willian are in at the moment, I wouldn't put it past them to double up again. And I love it. The Wilson, Fraser, Sturridge, Suarez, it's that combination. You're getting the scorer and the assister. And plus, they're not massively owned. They're not like effective ownership of over 100% in the top 10k. But they got that Norwich fixture, game week 36 plus. And then they've got Liverpool and Wolves, as Lateriser was saying. They're all doable in terms of getting goals and assists. But I just think the latter two, you might get a goal or assist. And I think there's points there, definitely. But I think essentially looking at the fixtures now, you've got 4 left. You're really looking at game week 36. That's your Chelsea time. And I think for those like me with Pulisic, he's going nowhere. And Willian is a tempter. It's very tempting. And I think if you've got a free hit, go for it. Just max out on Chelsea. Just really go for that fixture. That could be great. Because we've seen Norwich play this since the restart. They're awful. We've seen them against similar-ish teams, as in like the lower half of the table. And, when they come against, proper quality like Pulisic and Willian at the moment, then that's a high impact move potentially there. And we've got some stats just to reel off here. Looking at the last 4 matches, it's as you would expect really. Top for goals, Willian, Giroud and Pulisic 2 each there. And in terms of shots inside the box, Willian 8, Giroud 9, Pulisic 9. I mean, it's them. It's those 3. They're the ones to get, I think. But I wouldn't rule out Azpilicueta for getting a really nice, safe, boring 12-point score 1 week from.
I don't know Chelsea. Defensively, I can't trust Chelsea, especially with those fixtures. I actually would prefer Lucas Digne right now than Azpilicueta. I think.
I'm with Andy on that. I don't like Chelsea's defense either.
I don't know. There's just if you watch that Crystal Palace Chelsea game, Crystal Palace did not look like Crystal Palace. They almost looked like Liverpool in that second half. The amount of times they got past Chelsea's midfield and through on goal was ridiculous. It was only like that last ditch tackle by Zuma, I think it was, to stop Ben. Even Benteke almost scored like there. In fact, he did score, didn't he? I think he did get one.
Yeah.
So he almost scored another one at the end. So yeah, I really quick thought I went for Antonio over Pulisic last week, which obviously right now looks awful. I will say Antonio 5 shots in the box, Pulisic only 1 this week, and Antonio created more chances. Granted, he is creating chances for players who aren't as good as the Chelsea players. So, for me this week, the problem is trying to fit them all in. Like we've already said, we'd all love to have 7 or 8 midfielders. So to get Pulisic in, I've got to drop one of Bruno Fernandes or Martial, one of Mahrez or De Bruyne, or Antonio, who plays Norwich. And so I don't know what to make about Sheffield United because they've got O'Connell back now and they've been great defensively this year. But you can't really take much away from the fact they kept a clean sheet against Wolves because they're so bad right now. So I'm probably going to go without him. But, and this is going to be a nice segue, I do like him for game week 36 if he starts. I may even captain him and bring him in, Pulisic. So I can't sit here and argue against him. He's been so good. There's nothing to say with those fixtures.
I'd just like to add to the stat bit when it comes to Pulisic. There's something about Pulisic with the stats don't give, and I've noticed it while watching the Chelsea game. He always puts himself in the position for the goal. Like if you noticed Giroud's goal, he put himself in the center of the pitch. For every cutback or every cross, he's in there. He's got that sort of greedy streak that Mo Salah has. He sees only the goal. I like that about him. a lot.
Yeah, I fully agree. I actually, to be honest, even though he's only had one shot in the box, I did feel a bit lucky he only got one goal, even though he didn't really have that many shots. One thing, like I do, we've already talked about the fact he's not Eden Hazard yet, but he reminds me of him. The big difference, I think, watching him is when Hazard got into the box, he started looking for a pass. When Pulisic gets in the box, he looks for goal, and that is so huge. So yeah, I'm not going to be bringing him in just because of my team setup, but I wouldn't be that put off if you have a spare transfer this week.
Yeah, he definitely is, as you said, a game week 36 captain contender. That would be a very nice impact move because we know he can get 20 points. He can get 20 points in a game. It is capable, especially against a poor defence like that. Which brings, as you said, Andy, brings us on nicely to Lateriser's section because it was about the high impact moves, and it's quite timely this week because Vardy plays Whipping Boys Bournemouth. So yeah, do you want to? We've got some community questions around that as well. But yeah, do you want to take us through that, Lateriser?
So yeah, a lot of people are talking about high impact decisions right now, and I think we're in a very tricky phase in the season wherein I don't think in the midfield we don't have any easy sells. A lot of midfielders are in form. A lot of midfielders are performing. Even if you didn't own Salah this week, you have the City mids, you have the United mids, you have the Chelsea mids, you have Antonio. All of them are bringing in the numbers right now. Now, just to recap a little bit, those who don't know what high impact moves are, we basically leave the defense as is. We basically leave the sanity checking as is, and we go from one big hitter to another, targeting the captaincy or targeting a 15, 20 point fixture shift, basically chasing your big hauls. And I think, especially with just 4 game weeks to go, it's something that all of us should try finding because all the moves that you make, you're not making them long term. You're stuck with your player, even if it's a bad asset, for 1, 2, or 3 weeks tops. So that's my case with high impact moves. Now, a lot of people are talking about Jamie Vardy this week. First of all, I'm really happy that we have the first Bournemouth game tonight because I think it's a perfect audition to judge how a middling attacking team does against a poor team like Bournemouth. Leicester were quite average, I thought, against Arsenal until the time Nikita got a red card. They weren't doing too much. They haven't impressed me so far. I think City, Chelsea, Newcastle, and United are doing a lot more in attack. And even when it comes to Bournemouth, I don't think they're the only whipping boys in the league right now. Palace without Cahill, Newcastle, Burnley without me, Brighton, Watford, we have 6 to 7 whipping boy teams. We just don't have Bournemouth. So when you're targeting, I think just focusing on Bournemouth is not the only way to look at it. And it's not like Bournemouth are on the pitch. Every game for them is a cup final. It's not like they're down and out like Norwich, right? I think they have 2 wins and they're out of the relegation zone. So their motivation can't be questioned. So I think tonight you see how bad Bournemouth are against an average Spurs. I don't think Spurs have done so well. So I think Spurs and Leicester at a similar attacking level. You judge if they're really bad and if Kane and Son bring in the goods against them, and then take a call on Vardy. Because I don't think Leicester have been that great. I think they only started doing really well once Nikita got that red card in that game. So tread with caution. Good captaincy pick, but just tread with caution. When it comes to finding horse, there are so many horse that you can find. We've got United, their next 3 opponents are playing Southampton, Crystal Palace, and West Ham. West Ham are playing Norwich and Watford next. You have Mane, who's definitely going to start against Burnley. Mo might start. That's your call based on how you see that game. Chelsea versus Norwich, like we spoke about. Salah in the last 3 games against anyone. You keep making these big hitting switches based on who you think is going to start and who do you think is going to bring in, who has brace potential. So yeah, that's my take.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that you mentioned Mane there as well because I don't own Mane, and Mane looks a really good captaincy shout this week against Burnley because he was rested and I think we're at the stage of the season where for some teams you can have clues. Pep is hard to. I was surprised Sterling was benched this time around because he was benched before, but nevertheless, the way it looks with Liverpool is that it looks like, in theory, it's Salah's turn for a rest. If he's ever going to get a rest, it'll be this one. And Mane, he's had his rest, so he's back on. And Klopp's comments really, and something I'll come to about Golden Boot in a bit, was that it's important for Salah, but it's also, you mentioned it was important for Mane as well. I think Mane's a bit out of it this season, but it's important to him. It showed it was important last season. So that would indicate that he wants to get Mane on the pitch to score as many goals as he can, which sounds ideal for Fantasy Premier League managers. We had some questions, didn't we, from the community around this. Wizzy FPL was targeting that Bournemouth defence, and I think you're right, as you said. There are other whipping boys there, and we'll get a good chance to see Bournemouth tonight, see if they really are whipping boys. There's a question that I asked, really, was looking at the fixtures, the high impact captaincy moves in going forward in FPL. So we mentioned like Pulisic as one. We mentioned Vardy as well, Mane this week. But Pulisic game week 37. Was there anything else, Lateriser, you'd seen in game week 37, game week 38 as well, when City play Norwich? Was there anything you were thinking there in terms of high impact moves?
I think Sterling this week is a really good shout. I expect him to start after getting his rest in the previous game, and he could potentially play striker, depending on whether Jesus or Mahrez or Foden gets rested. I think that's a good shout, and I think Martial in any home game is a good shout as well. He's done really well. He's got 4 goals and 2 assists in 2 home games since restart. So I like Martial in any home game. In fact, I'm looking at giving him the armband this week as well. I'm debating him or Sterling or Vardy if I get him based on tonight. So yeah.
It's quite depressing because all of the players that are probably the high impact players for game week 35 I don't have. And all the players I have are probably due a benching and don't have such great fixtures, but there we go. Andy, what do you reckon, these high impact, I mean, you like a transfer, a hit or two and high impact moves, are you happy with that? You happy with that theory?
I like the idea of them. I never nail them. The one thing I'll say actually, which I actually think I saw a tweet. I'm pretty sure it was Lateriser's tweet actually, which I thought was interesting. So Salah is now 3 goals ahead of Mane, but up until last night he was only 1 ahead, and obviously he's had the chance to go ahead because he played. So there is nothing to say that he will start the next game. Maybe it'll be Mane's turn to kind of catch up. So I like the Mane shout because it'd be very surprising to see him rested 2 weeks in a row. And for anyone that doesn't think the golden boot is a thing, just watch Salah's first goal last night. Firmino should have put that in, and he left it. He obviously got a shout, but he should have put that in himself, really. In another game, Firmino shoots there. He doesn't lead the ball. So I'm sure that had something to do with it. I'm kind of... I don't know. I'm always worried about trying to just go too different and not... Because sometimes the obvious moves are the best ones. Like, I'm not... Right now, I'm thinking, who could I captain for game week 35? Could I captain Vardy? But Man United have got Southampton at home, and they've been incredible. So should I ignore them? Maybe the actual play is not to go Vardy. It's to go, like Lateriser said, maybe Martial instead of Fernandes, because we know that Fernandes will be the heaviest captain. So maybe that's a slightly different play on it. Otherwise, I kind of agree with the same play as you've mentioned. I've already said Pulisic in game week 36. I think captaincy in game week 36, Man City, if you can nail the right one against Bournemouth again, and Norwich in game week 38 could be huge. Like David Silva was interesting last night. I don't expect him to do that every week, but maybe he's one that if we see him get benched, you might start the next one. You could look at maybe bringing him in, especially if you're on a free hit or something. Otherwise, I quite like it. On Jamie Vardy, I think, yes, Leicester weren't great against Arsenal, but Arsenal also haven't been bad defensively, so it was a tougher fixture for Leicester, and obviously they have just recently started playing this new formation as well, so maybe they're taking a little bit of time to get up to speed with that. So I don't know, I quite like Jamie Vardy in this week, but I will say his fixtures aren't fantastic after Bournemouth, so I don't know how long I'd want to keep him for, but we've seen him before. Like, part of me just thinks don't overthink it. He scored 3 and 2, and we've seen him go on runs before. Why is this now not another time he could go on to do that? So I'm thinking about bringing him in. I just don't know if I'll captain him.
What are your thoughts on Salah? What are you doing there? Both of us don't own Salah at the moment. Are you waiting a week to get him? I mean, I know for a fact that he's going to be pestering and he's going to be inside Klopp's ear for the next 2 days, making sure he plays him. But I mean, Zofa did mention, in the hot topic that he did today, and he's done a fair bit of research where rest and recovery period is a thing. He's going to be playing his 4th game in 10 days if he starts today. What's your take on that?
I'm not going to get in this week. I think I just have to go through with it at this point. And then it's Arsenal away. We've just talked about, look, will Liverpool score against Arsenal? Probably, but they're going to score a hatful? I don't think so, given Arteta has got them set up pretty well. So for me, I'm probably going to go without. But if I get him back in, like Chelsea's not a bad game to play from a defensive point of view. So
Great
I'm
game,
thinking
too.
about it. But Man City are just their fixtures are so good. Like I feel like I just go through with it now and just don't get him back. But it is a huge worry, and you can just see like the amount of headers he had last night. I don't think I've ever seen him jump for so many balls. Like
Yeah,
he
yeah.
is a man on a mission. Even like the second goal, sorry, the header from the corner was so good. Like, and there was other times where he was jumping up against defenders he should never win the ball from, and he should have had a hat trick. He should have scored with the last touch of the game. So I am worried. Let's just say that. But I don't think I'm going to get him.
I'm hoping Klopp gives us a clue in the press conference
I think he
before the
will.
weekend. Because if he hints that Salah is going to play, I think I'll get him in and set him up for the last four fixtures. Because stats were outstanding yesterday. 8 shots in the box, 4 big chances. And one good thing that has gone a little bit under the radar when it comes to Salah is since I was just looking at some stats in the last 4 matches. He's top for shots in the box. He's top for big chances. He's also in the top 5 players amongst all attackers for chances created. So he just doesn't have goal threat at the moment. He's passing it to everybody except Mane.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I like about Salah at the moment, is as Andy mentioned about the Golden Boot, and it's clearly on his mind. It's Klopp said that it's on his players' minds, and I think, and it's been something in FPL over the years I've looked to target. My I think one of my best seasons was when I targeted Drogba towards the end, and he was pushing for the Golden Boot. Even Lampard was giving up penalties for him, and that was a sort of high impact move. Get on Drogba, captain him. It worked out. So I did a little bit of research about the Golden Boot. So I put up a tweet actually, and I was talking about how these are the people in the running for it. So it's Vardy at the top with 22, Aubameyang with 20 goals, Salah just behind with 19, and Ings, don't forget Danny Ings, on 18. And I was saying that they're goal-alicious, and I would like to own about 3 or 4 of them. So my transfers are actually going to be targeting some of these guys. So I've already got Salah. I'm looking to get Vardy this week. It's a good move to get him. I think he is motivated by the Golden Boot. I don't think Leicester are necessarily amazing, and I don't think their fixtures long term. Well, I say long term for the rest of the season are amazing, but I think he is capable of scoring, and he is going to want to keep those guys back at bay. I don't think I can get Aubameyang in without jettisoning some of those amazing midfielders at the moment. But Danny Ings is someone I can get in, and is someone I'm also targeting. And I think I would like to target these guys much more than upgrading Fernandes with a Z on my bench boost that may come to nothing. So that's going to be my theory. So I had a little look actually at how important the Golden Boot is towards the end of a season. So the last season, in the final 4 weeks, the Golden Boot contest was won jointly by Salah, Mane and Aubameyang. But Aguero, Vardy and Kane were all in their running. So let's have a look at their last 4 matches. Aubameyang, 4 goals. Mane, 4 goals. Salah, 3 goals and an assist. Vardy, 3 goals. Kane scored twice. Aguero scored twice. There's goals. There's goals at least every other game. There's goals possibly every game. They are motivated. They are strikers. They're forwards. They're motivated by the Golden Boot. So that's.
Remember Kane a few seasons ago? I think he got like some 7 goals in the last.
Yeah, it was insane.
Do you remember? Yeah, and I particularly remember that through playing the Sky game, because you run out of transfers, and I ran out of transfers and couldn't get him in, having to watch him score a hat trick, a brace, hat trick, brace, and that's the motivation. It shouldn't be ignored, and that's partly the reason I'm getting Vardy in. It's not just for this fixture. I just want to have Golden Boot contenders for that running, because as last year showed, they get goals, they score in the final few matches because they're going for it. If they're fit, they'll go for it. And I think their managers will back them as well. Hasenhuttl has already said, he's backing Danny Ings all the way for it. I mean, that's going to be an amazing achievement for a club like Southampton. Their top striker gets the Golden Boot. I covet Danny Ings, even those fixtures haven't been so good.
I wonder if with Ings, he might be on penalties, because I think they're pretty much safe at this point. He's not usually on penalties. I wonder if he'll get one or two before the end of the season.
Like Lampard did with Drogba, I can see Ward-Prowse just handing Ings the ball, and I can definitely see that. Salah's obviously on him anyway.
Yeah, I think Aubameyang as well. We mentioned he was actually on my list because I think he often gets overlooked because of his price, but he's pretty consistent. And it's Villa away, Watford at home, last 2 games of the season. So I probably wouldn't be targeting him right now. But again, maybe is a bit of a different option. Villa away, not necessarily that easy, but at that point, who knows what will have happened with relegation?
Hey, he's at home to the mighty Foster in the game week 38. If you got your free hit game week 38, get in Aubameyang, who's going for the golden boot, and could be like 1 or 2 goals away from it still. And captain him. There you go.
There's four in that game.
There's me with an attempt at a high impact decision there. But before we move on, Lateriser, is there anything else you wanted to say about this high impact theory and
this is
some of the people?
Not high impact theory, but I think one thing that we haven't touched on is a lot of people have a problem in the form of Jimenez at the moment. Now, if they can't go all the way up to a Vardy or a Jesus for a couple of million more, I think actually making that switch this week and letting Ings stay for the last 4 weeks is a good option if you've got all your mids in place, if you've got your Salah and your big hitters and all of that in place. I quite like that move. I don't think United have faced an incredibly challenging team as yet, and I think Southampton will press us a lot, and they did well against City as well. I mean, it just wasn't that Che Adams goal that they scored. They had a few chances as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if he scores against United. And after that, he's got Brighton, Bournemouth, and Sheffield. So he's a good switch from Jimenez, because Wolves have gone into sort of Burnley mode right now, scoring 1 or 0 and then conceding 0-1 goals. So I quite like that switch as well.
Yeah, I mean, I have enough money in the bank to just do Jimenez to Vardy, and that's, well, we'll come to moves later, but spoiler, that is my move. Barring anything else happening, it just seems like an obvious move for me for some of those reasons. Let's have a look at clean sheets over the next 4, Andy. Who are the teams we should be targeting defence-wise?
Yeah, so it's very similar teams, obviously, to last week. Man City, we spoke about Garcia. People were looking at bringing him in. What happens? He gets benched. And I don't know, I know high impact for Man City attackers. For defenders, I'm just not convinced it's worth the hassle, to be honest. I mean, Stones and Otamendi starting in the last game. Probably be Laporte and Garcia back. Maybe they'll start 2 or 3 of the next few, but just don't think it's worth it. But they do have good fixtures. Brighton away, Bournemouth at home, Watford away, Norwich at home. West Ham, I mean, maybe if you still want to make a goalkeeper transfer, Fabianski, Norwich away, or even defender like Cresswell as well. Norwich away, Watford at home. They do play Man United away, which is tricky, but then it's Villa at home last day of the season. As they just said, Man United still got really good fixtures. Southampton at home is against Danny Ings, but hopefully could be a clean sheet there. Crystal Palace away, West Ham at home, and Leicester away last day of the season, which potentially could be a top 4 decider. So it could be a tight one, that one. And Liverpool still got okay fixtures. Burnley at home, Arsenal away, Chelsea at home, Newcastle away. The only problem for me with Liverpool is they're just not defending that well, which is already mentioned, and they are rotating as well, which isn't going to help. So I personally, I've got Trent. I don't know if I would double up now, even though I had considered it before. I'm probably not going to get rid of him because there's just other stuff to do. But yeah, I don't know if the fixtures for Liverpool are as good as they look on paper. And lastly, I just mentioned Everton. 4th fewest shots conceded in the box, 4th best for expected goals conceded. Wolves away, who just said are not scoring too many goals right now. Villa at home, Sheffield United away, and Bournemouth at home. I think someone like Lucas Digne, if you had a defender transfer, he's probably where I'll be looking right now, even ahead of the Chelsea players for me. Yeah, there's a few around. It's just who to target, really.
Yeah, that was Lucas Digne was a player that I think it was Tom did in his pro pundit piece for Fantasy Football Scout, was talking about Everton assets with this run in mind. And yeah, Lucas Digne was, and Azpilicueta to a certain extent. I do have a soft spot for him. I think the time has gone for Chelsea defence, but Lucas Digne's still there. I just wanted to mention as well Arsenal. So they've got Tottenham, Liverpool, but they've got Villa, and then they end with Watford. If I'm looking to do some downgrades, there's some really cheap, nice assets there in Arsenal, and I think they've got 2 good fixtures to prove it. And once again, Aubameyang could be a good high impact player to get there. And also Southampton, obviously Manchester United, but then they got Brighton, Bournemouth, Sheffield United. I've got McCarthy, who will start to be played. I think that's a good little run for the Sheffield for the Southampton defenders. And Brighton as well, Lewis Dunk. So my team, obviously, lots of errors. They're starting to appear a little bit like they were in their promotion season. Still good, still error prone, and I think they will concede. Having said that, Lewis Dunk has a goal in him. So he has a potential goal. He's a nice enabler, I think. Some of the Brighton defence there. Lamptey as well is looking really good. I'm not sure how we've got him, but nevertheless, my team has him. And I think Brighton are quite nice enablers there. Just to mention them. Now, we talk about differentials, obviously, at this stage of each Scoutcast. So we've had some notable successes. Antonio still doing ever so well, even though he did blank this week, but still great option. Jury was still out on Jesus, and then he went and scored. So well done for Jesus. That was at your pick, Andy. Bowen has been tipped as well, so we're still waiting there. Foden has been, I'm going to say, unlucky. I mean, if I was a Foden owner, I'd be very happy. Absolute bargain. Nketiah and Richie, least said about them, the better. But so today it's Lateriser's turn to pick a differential for the next 4 weeks who is owned by no more than 5% of FPL managers. Lateriser, who is a good differential to target?
So when I was looking at this, the first name that popped to my mind was Antonio, and I was gutted that he was already picked. And then I went hunting. There's a few names that popped. Like you mentioned, Brighton does have a good end to the season, and I quite like Trossard. I think he played really well against Liverpool as well. He got into goal scoring positions quite a few times. So I like Trossard, but he's not going to be my pick. Elsewhere, I quite like Iheanacho as well. His stats are very similar to Vardy's. But I think his fixtures after the next game don't look that great. So I think I'm going to go retro and emotional with this pick, and I'm going to go for Oli Giroud. I think he's going to get a few goals at the end of the season. He's absolutely my favorite player in FPL, and so Giroud it is. I quite like his price. I see him starting 3 out of the next 4, and I see a few goals.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's got a huge ceiling, but he's a nice steady scorer at the moment, and he's value.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. No, I think I agree with that. Andy, do you support the Giroud move?
Got muted there. Yeah, I quite like Giroud. Like I said earlier, I think I don't know. I don't know what to make of Chelsea's fixtures. I think they look tough, but maybe they're not quite as bad as they look. Plus, they're still absolutely going for top 4. So, defensively awful, but attacking wise, they look really good.
Yeah,
so, I like it.
They're going to concede goals, so they will need to score to win the games.
Exactly. Yes, I actually tweeted that the other day. It's a good job they can score so many goals because they cannot defend.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our moves for game week 35. So I'll put my team up. The mighty Foster playing Newcastle in goal, obviously. Bolly, Alexander-Arnold, Aurier back in a 3-5-2. Pulisic. Fernandez, tentatively my captain at the moment, but I'm still not sure about that. Burnley. Salah plays Burnley, or Willie. De Bruyne and Mahrez, and then up front I've got Jimenez and Greenwood, and on my bench McCarthy, Jack Stevens, Calvert-Lewin and Fernandez with a Z. And my move with money in the bank, Jimenez to Vardy. And the captaincy decision is basically, for me, I think it would be Fernandez or Vardy. It'll be one of those two. And it depends how I feel towards the time. I don't quite, even though it's Brighton, it's the way, I don't know who's going to start for City. They've been much better at home. I don't want to put the captaincy there. But if I had Sterling, I would be very tempted. I have 2 free transfers. I don't particularly want to get rid of Salah, but I could be tempted, which sounds crazy. But Salah to Sterling and Captain Sterling would be a good move. Salah to Martial and Captain Martial would be a good move, I think. Because I'm just
I wouldn't do it, Joe.
No, I'm not going to. But that's just a considered move. I mean, I'm fairly certain. A couple of weeks ago, I was taking a hit a week for a couple of weeks to steady the ship to get the team I've got now, which I'm happy with. And now I'm
I'd like to add a point here. So we've noticed actually with the City attackers and what we'll see with the Liverpool attackers as well. Foden came on, and he got a couple of returns. Sterling came on and he got a goal and an assist. If by the off chance Salah doesn't start, I expect him to get 30 minutes. And 30 minutes against tired legs with Salah, you want some of that. So I don't think it's a bad thing if a player is gonna come on in the last 30 minutes, especially when it comes to this premium team right now.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think for me, the sensible play, I'm in a position now where I can bank a transfer, I can get Vardy in, and then I really want 2 free transfers for the final game week or game week 37. I've still got this bench boost. I'd like the option to be able to play it at some point, and I think 2 free transfers will be handy there. So yeah, I'm just going to go sensible again. Back to Dullard for me. Lateriser, what are you up to then? Obviously, it's going to be completely different to me and much more exciting. And so I'm just going to say you've got De Gea in goal, Aurier, Alexander-Arnold, Doherty. You've got the 3-5-2, different one though. You've got Mahrez, Sterling, your vice captain, Fernandes, Martial, captain, Pulisic, Jesus, and Jimenez up front, and then on your bench, it's you haven't got a bench boost coming, so you're okay with Nketiah and Button and these kinds of guys down there. But yeah, what are your general thoughts there, especially on Martial as captain?
So my captaincy is between Martial, Sterling, and I haven't even ruled Bruno out. And if I get Vardy for Jimenez, then maybe him. Actually, I'm quite confused in terms of what transfers I'm going to make. My problem is that I have De Gea as a keeper. I wasn't expecting us to score 4 or 5 goals a game. I thought we keep a few clean sheets. He hasn't done so bad since, but a couple of moves that I'm thinking about. I'm thinking of a -8 where I get rid of De Gea, get any keeper. I get rid of Jimenez and get Greenwood in there, and I get rid of Mahrez and get Salah there because I have a feeling Mahrez is going to sit out the next game. But -8 at this stage does feel like a huge risk, but it sets me up for the final 3 or 4 weeks. Alternatively, I'm looking at a more safer Mahrez and Jimenez to Vardy, and instead of Mahrez, I can get maybe a Foden or an Antonio. So I'm looking at something like that as well, or even save. So that's where I am. I haven't made up my mind. At the moment, I think my captain is going to be one of Martial or Sterling.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much choice, isn't there? Any of the players we talked about could get massive hauls. So many good captain decisions there. And also any of the players you talked about removing and getting in. Antonio could get a massive haul. Mahrez could be benched. Mahrez could get a massive haul. Antonio could get nothing. You just don't know. But there's so many options. Andy.
Where we are, there are no easy sells right now. There are no easy sells in midfield. So you have to roll the dice.
Andy, your team, you've got the mighty Foster in goal, obviously. Sace, Alexander-Arnold and Maguire. Good back line. 3-5-2 again. Fernandes, De Bruyne captain. Antonio, Mahrez, Martial, and up front Jesus and Jimenez. So yeah, I mean, I guess for you, you're so far the game week hasn't gone so well. So the temptation is to just chuck loads of hits at this and see what comes out. But yeah, what are your plans?
I'm actually feeling quite calm. For the first time this whole season, I almost made a transfer. I almost did my Vardy transfer last night because I was just sick of the team. But I mean, once you have a sleep on it, you feel much better. So yeah, I think the team looks okay for next week. Funny enough, I'm similar position like with Lateriser with De Gea. I have Maguire, and I felt trapped by having him for the last few weeks. But it's just always that: do you take a hit to get in Greenwood? And so far I haven't done it, so I think I'm actually not going to take any hits. I think I'm going to just do Jimenez to Vardy, and that will probably be then Vardy to Ings the week after. Potentially I might keep him, I'm not sure. The thing with Man City is I actually think Brighton away is not that bad. Like I said earlier, they've conceded 3 to Liverpool, 3 to Man United. There's no reason Man City can't even better that. The problem is it's difficult to know who's going to start, so my feeling is I'm going to see if I can get anything from this game, and then maybe whoever gets rested, captain them for Bournemouth instead. And yeah, captaincy will probably be, it won't be De Bruyne. Also, he did get a knock in that game as well. I know he carried on, but maybe that's a reason for Pep to maybe give him a rest in the next one. We'll have to wait and see. Not trying to scaremonger, but it did happen. So my captaincy will be the same as later as Vardy, pretty much same anyway. Vardy, Martial, or Fernandes, I think. But I'm pretty set on bringing Vardy. I'm trying not to overthink. I know they weren't great against Arsenal, but it's Bournemouth. I think that's an okay fixture. He's chasing Golden Boot. He then becomes Ings. Job done.
What about Egan?
Yeah, I was going to say, lots of people in the live chat are saying, play Egan.
No, I'm benching him. There's like let's see how Everton do tonight. But I mean, Wolves have been Jimenez has been pretty poor the last few games, but defensively, Wolves have still been good. And there's no way I'm benching Maguire or Trent. There is a big chance I think that Trent doesn't start this game, which is going to be frustrating because he probably will come on. But if he doesn't, then I get Egan anyway. So there's upsides to both.
What are your thoughts? Actually, I need to raise funds to make that Jimenez to Vardy switch. Instead of selling Mahrez, I could sell Trent and downgrade him because we're not expecting him to start the next game based on the rotation policy. And then he plays.
I was going to say that thought did cross my mind, but I was thinking either Luka Dean or Van Dijk, because if I wanted to still get the option of points from a Liverpool defender, because Van Dijk has goals in him as well, that's what I would do. But that's my thought. But getting rid of Trent Alexander-Arnold now is, I think, tougher than getting rid of Salah. I think he's that important.
Obviously it's risk. It's always risk involved with selling Liverpool players, as you know, and I don't need to tell you that. But yeah, I do think there's a big chance he doesn't start this one, and I've not been convinced with Liverpool defensively. I think I'm fairly sure I saw that expected goal-wise, Brighton were pretty much the same as Liverpool, if not slightly better last night in terms of the quality of chances. So they are giving up a lot. Like Trent looked pretty tired, I thought, last night. And Nico Williams only played 45 minutes. There's no reason he can't come in. So defensively, they haven't looked fantastic. But we know what he can do on his own.
Even against Villa, I thought the clean sheet that Liverpool kept was quite jammy. It was only because of Villa's lack of quality in the front three.
Yeah, exactly.
They had so many chances. They have looked pretty wobbly in defense. I'm looking at getting money out of my defense and maybe downgrading Trent as well.
That's the type of move you do, so go for it. I agree on the Villa game. Like they counter-attacked a lot. The problem was when Grealish had the ball, who's he passing to? They're just all awful. So they had no chance of scoring them.
Yeah, some tough decisions coming up, and we're going to be back again soon. Feels like in a few days with game week 36 to prepare for. They're going so quick. It's really hard to assess, but hopefully, we've given everyone a chance to assess a bit what's been happening in game week 34 and look ahead to those coming game weeks, in particular game week 35. I think all three of us have got definite decisions to make there, especially around the captaincy. Just before we go, I just wanted to remind the people that a lot of the stats, the season ticker, etc., have been used from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. So please have a look on site there about details on signing up. Also, please do press like if you've enjoyed this episode, and remember to subscribe to keep up to date with our latest videos and podcasts. In the meantime, it's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Good luck.
Goodbye all.